This service on this Good Friday is a tenebrae service. Tenebrae being the Latin word for darkness. During this ceremony, you will see no faces, you will hear voices, and what you see before you are 7 candles. 7 candles representing the light surrounding Christ, that center candle being the light of Christ. This is a ceremony that dates back to the 4th century, and it really is more of an extended prayer. And so I invite you, as you see the candles before you, as you hear the scriptures read, and as we respond as each candle is extinguished, that we may maintain a sense of prayer throughout this time together. As I said, the service focuses on shadows falling on Jesus in the last hours of his life. These 7 candles represent the 7 events leading up to, including the death of our Lord. Each event causes a shadow to fall. Shadows caused by betrayal, agony, loneliness, desertion, accusation, mockery, and finally death. After each passage is read, we will respond together with these prayerful words: Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. The shadow of betrayal. Matthew 26. When it was evening, Jesus took his place with the 12, and while they were eating, he said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." And they became greatly distressed and began to say to him one after another, "Surely not I, Lord." He answered, "The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to the one by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that one not to have been born." Judas, who betrayed him, said, "Surely not I, Rabbi." He replied, "You have said so." The shadow of betrayal. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. The shadow of inner agony. Luke 22. When he reached the place, Jesus said to them, "Pray that you may not come into the time of trial." Then he withdrew from them about a stone's throw, knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done." Then an angel from heaven appeared to him and gave him strength. In his anguish he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down on the ground. The shadow of inner agony. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. The shadow of loneliness. Matthew 26. Then he came to the disciples and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, "So could you not stay awake with me 1 hour? Stay awake and pray that you may not come into the time of trial. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." Again he went away for the 2nd time and prayed, "My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done." Again he came and he found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. So leaving them again, he went away and prayed for the 3rd time, saying the same words. Then he came to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? See, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. the shadow of loneliness. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. The shadow of desertion. Matthew 26. While Jesus was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, "The one I will kiss is the man. Arrest him." At once he came to Jesus and said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and he kissed him. Jesus said to him, "Friend, do what you are here to do." Then they came and laid hands on Jesus, and they arrested him. At that hour Jesus said to the crowds, "Have you come out with swords and clubs to arrest me as though I were a bandit? Day after day I sat in the temple teaching, and you did not arrest me. But all this has taken place so that the scriptures of the prophets may be fulfilled." Then all the disciples deserted him, and they fled. The shadow of desertion. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. The shadow of accusation. Matthew 26. Now the chief priests and the whole council were looking for false testimony against Jesus, so that they might put him to death. But they found none, though many false witnesses came forward. At least 2 came forward and said, "This fellow said, 'I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days.'" The high priest stood up and said, "Have you no answer? What is it that they testify against you?" But Jesus was silent. Then the high priest said to him, "I put you under oath before the living God. Tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God." Jesus said to him, "You have said so. But I tell you, from now on you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his clothes, and he said, "He has blasphemed. Why do you still need witnesses? You have now heard his blasphemy. What is your verdict?" And they answered, "He deserves death." And then they spat in his face, and they struck him, and some slapped him. The shadow of accusation. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. The shadow of mockery. Mark 15. Pilate spoke to the crowd again. "Then what do you wish me to do with this man you call King of the Jews?" They shouted back, "Crucify him." Pilate asked them, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Crucify him." So Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released Barabbas for them. And after flogging Jesus, he handed him over to be crucified. Then the soldiers led him into the courtyard of the palace, that is, the governor's headquarters, and they called together the whole cohort. And they clothed him in a purple cloak, and after twisting some thorns into a crown, they put it on him. And then they began saluting him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" They struck his head with a reed. They spat upon him, and they knelt down in homage to him. After mocking him, they stripped him of the purple cloak and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him out to crucify him. The shadow of mockery. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. The shadow of death. Luke 23. When they came to the place that is called the Skull, they crucified Jesus there with the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. Then Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And they cast lots to divide his clothing. And the people stood by, watching. But the leaders scoffed at Jesus, saying, "He saved others. Let him save himself if he is the Messiah of God, his chosen one." The soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offering him sour wine and saying, "If you are the king of the Jews, then save yourself." There was also an inscription over him, "This is the King of the Jews." One of the criminals who were hanging there kept deriding him and saying, "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and save us." But the other rebuked him, saying, "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed have been condemned justly, for we are getting what we deserve for our deeds, but this man has done nothing wrong." And then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus replied, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 p.m, while the sun's light failed, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Then Jesus, crying with a loud voice, said, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." Having said this, he breathed his last. The shadow of death. Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. As we move now in this darkness, we move in a hopeful peace. We move through this time of darkness, and we wait. We wait for the light. Go in peace. Amen.